we also cannot and do not discount the possibility that Hamas or another foreign terrorist organization may exploit the current conflict to conduct attacks here on our own soil.
So according to the FBI director, he is now saying that we cannot discount that there is a possibility that we could have terrorist attacks here on U.S. soil. That is very concerning. And today, we're going to listen to a decent amount of his really interview, but we're also going to discuss what is happening. What happened just this morning on November 1st. This happened over in Gaza. This is very concerning. I will show that to you in just a moment. All I ask is if you enjoy these daily updates, do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button. Also click that subscribe button so you never miss an update, and let's begin. So just this morning, there were Israeli strikes on a compound, on a refugee camp. Look at this. It says Gaza crossing opens for foreign passport holders and wounded as Israeli strikes pound a refugee camp. That happened this morning. The reason why this is so concerning is now people are fleeing, which they should be. But one of the things that we are now being told is that all these people are just going away. They're just getting out, and they should, for their sake, their own safety. They need to get out. But according to multiple reports and many officials, where are those people going? That is where some are actually concerned, because what if people of Hamas are now getting out? What if they are now getting out and they are being, transported to another country? This is why Germany's worried of additional threats as well and a potential wider war. And Germany's not the only one. The United States is right there as well. But as we are trying to kind of balance this, President Biden is struggling. Look at this. It says Biden's Israel Balancing Act gets harder as Gaza offensive grows. Now, why is it getting harder? Well, we're going to listen to the FBI director in just a moment and how he is now warning people of the United States that attacks could happen here. But according to this article right here, the reason why President Biden's Balancing Act is getting harder is because President Biden wants to fund Israel, give them additional money and resources. But at the same time, as Israel is striking Gaza, President Biden decides, we need to send humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people of Gaza. But we need to ensure that it doesn't get into the hands of Hamas. This is why it's turning into a balancing act. And some say he is not going to be able to do it effectively. Now, I want to show you this. Okay? So this is from the FBI director, Christopher Wray. He says Hamas could inspire attacks in the United States. Now, I want to play you a clip. Okay, this is about a 4 or 5 minute long clip, but this is him talking. This is him in the Senate hearing. He's discussing this and how there's a chance of potential terrorist attacks here on U.S. soil. Listen to this.
That what we face and what we're doing to tackle them are always important, but it seems especially well-timed this year with the dangerous implications the very fluid situation in the Middle East has for our homeland security. The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level. Since the horrific terrorist attacks committed by Hamas against innocent people in Israel a few weeks ago, we've been working around the clock to support our partners there and to protect Americans here at home. We assess that the actions of Hamas and its allies will serve as an inspiration, the likes of which we haven't seen since ISIS launched its so-called caliphate several years ago.
So that is just the first part. So now he is saying that this could be something that is similar, or if not worse, to ISIS. I don't think we need to go back down that road. But again, Let's continue with his interview.
In just the past few weeks, multiple foreign terrorist organizations have called for attacks against Americans and the West. Al-Qaeda issued its most specific call to attack the United States in the last 5 years. ISIS urged its followers to target Jewish communities in the United States and Europe. Hezbollah has publicly expressed its support for Hamas and threatened to attack U.S. interests in the Middle East. And we've seen an increase in attacks on U.S. military bases overseas carried out by militia groups backed by Iran. Here in the United States, our most immediate concern is that violent extremists, individuals or small groups, will draw inspiration from the events in the Middle East to carry out attacks against Americans going about their daily lives.
This is something that we have seen already. We have seen in places like New York, Chicago, New Orleans, even in Detroit, there are protests happening. And these protests are starting out very peaceful, just a little march, and then they go from peaceful to the rather extreme. That is something that he is very concerned about, and as should many other people as well.
That includes not just homegrown violent extremists inspired by a foreign terrorist organization, but also domestic violent extremists targeting Jewish or Muslim communities. We've already seen that with the individual we arrested last week in Houston, who'd been studying how to build bombs and posted online about his support for killing Jews. And with the tragic killing of a 6-year-old Muslim boy in Illinois in what we're investigating as a federal hate crime. But as I said a few moments ago, on top of the homegrown violent extremists and domestic violent extremist threat, we also cannot and do not discount the possibility that Hamas or another foreign terrorist organization may exploit the current conflict to conduct attacks here on our own soil. We have kept our sights on Hamas and have multiple ongoing investigations into individuals affiliated with that foreign terrorist organization. And while historically our Hamas cases have identified individuals located here who are facilitating and financing Hamas's terrorism overseas, we're continuing to scrutinize our intelligence to assess how the threat may be evolving. But it's not just Hamas. As the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism, the Iranians, for instance, have directly or by hiring criminals mounted assassination attempts against dissidents and high-ranking current and former U.S. government officials, including right here on American soil. And along those lines, Hezbollah, Iran's primary strategic partner, has a history of seeding operatives and infrastructure, obtaining money and weapons, and spying in this country going back years. Given that disturbing history, we are keeping a close eye on what impact recent events may have on those groups' intentions here in the United States and how those intentions might evolve. For example, the cyber targeting of American interests and critical infrastructure that we already see conducted by Iran and non-state actors alike, we can expect to get worse if the conflict expands, as will the threat of kinetic attacks.
So that is exactly right. Not only are things happening abroad, but now they're coming here into the United States. And it's not something that we are just now seeing. It's something that the FBI director himself has said it has happened over the past handful of years. But did you ever hear those stories? No. We are just now getting the truth. What's interesting about all this is he's saying those attacks are only going to get worse. This is not just here in the United States either. I want to show you this. The German defense chief says the public must get used to the possibility of war in Europe. That's true. A war in Europe. And look at this one. It says deep dive. This is from yesterday. Houthis effectively declare war on Israel after drone and missile barrage. This is not something that's just going to go away, because now we're seeing this small conflict. Again, when you look at the grand scheme of things, the entire world, It was Israel and Gaza. Okay? Still, it's very important to understand this because these are two important countries, but now it's turning into a wider war. And as the UN stated in New York last week, they said, at the UN, Iran warned the United States it would not be spared if the war in Gaza continues. And so with the United States trying to fund Israel, and at the same time provide humanitarian efforts to Gaza and Israel as well, this is very concerning because Iran is now looking at the United States as part of the problem. Here's something else. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, he's naming his price for the Ukraine and Israel aid package. And in this aid package, he is saying that we need stricter border policies. He's saying that we need to ensure that Republicans and Democrats come together and they pass a bill that includes some type of concession from Democrats that, yes, Republicans will get their wish. They will get stricter border policies. Now, what we have been hearing over the past few days is that we all need to be concerned. Not just people in the Middle East, not just people in Europe, but here in the United States as well. Because now the FBI director is telling us that, yes, there's a chance we could see terrorist attacks here on U.S. soil. So, that's what I got for you guys today. As always, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.